All right, I think we are getting ready to start. We are super excited again for this panel. It's Friday, y'all. Can I get a shout out for Friday? I just think of the song, Just Got Paid, Friday. Okay, that's not about. Or living it up at last, Friday night. There are all these Friday songs. But it's Friday. We are wrapping up the Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity. We're wrapping up 5 years of amazing work from the Can Diversity Collective in Inkwell Beach. We're wrapping up an amazing week of inclusion, partnership, celebrating the elements of creativity. And last year, we had two of the beautiful women sitting next to me on stage on Friday. And it was a Friday. All the magic happens on a Friday. And before we left, because we talked about the power of partnerships, and they had formed such an amazing relationship that they wanted to come on stage and talk about it. And at the end of the conversation, I remembered saying, I want you guys back and I want to know what you're doing. So let me just introduce this panel. We're going to be talking about Agency Allyship, a model for unlocking growth and good. So we're going to get started. And I'm just going to make sure that I don't miss anything. And as I started to say, last year, you guys came to CCDC, it was a Friday, and shared your partnership. You introduced the concept of agency allyship, and we agreed that you would be back. You honored your promise. You were back. And for those of you who are in the audience and you don't know the story, you don't remember the magic that happened that day, I want you guys to quickly share what happened, get us up to date, 365 days or so, give or take later. Give us the update.
So one, thank you so much, Adrian, for having us back. And to CCDC, we want you to give yourselves a round of applause for an amazing
All right, amazing, yes.
And we do realize that it's what's standing between you and I and the attention is food. So if you're out here, we want to say thank you. You're really dedicated. And for those that are eating, we hope that you will also be tuning in to listen over here.
I think it's the crunch from the fried chicken. That
Is it the crunch from the fried chicken? Okay. So we were here, as Adrian noted, last year, one of the first places that we wanted to come to announce our partnership was CCDC. We thought that was very important. At this time last year, the anniversary was 1 year, and now we're at 2 years. The background and the story behind this partnership is post the murder of George Floyd, as many of you know, and as many of you know, the discussion here at CCDC has been focused on DE&I. Well, that DE&I moment directly impacted Egami Group, which is an award-winning multicultural agency. Our phone started to ring like never before, and we were experiencing demands from our clients and partners that wanted to reach diverse audiences. So as a minority business founder of this agency, we were faced with options. Number one, how do we scale the business at this time to meet the demand? Do we completely sell? We had many partners calling us, making offers to acquire the firm. And or secondly, how do we remain Black-owned, stay true to our core, but access capital? And the last option was staying status quo and growing organically, but at a slower rate than our team desired. We decided as a team we wanted to step into the moment. We were aware that this global awakening was a moment that if you're in DE&I, you needed to step up to the challenge, and we wanted to scale. But we had to be very pioneering in what that looked like. Here's the barriers that was facing our agency at the time. If you're in here and you're a Black-owned business or a minority-owned business, let me see by hands. All right, I hear you clapping over there.
Minority-owned businesses, yes.
Yeah. So these are the barriers that are facing minority business enterprises. Access to capital, access to curriculum, and curriculum is the knowledge to scale your business. Access to community, like-minded community, and access to connections, the right connections. We were well aware of our barriers, and our intention was, how do we find a partner that we can pioneer and receive access and tools to support us in overcoming our barriers, but also find a partner that we could help them in their vision and purpose. And then there comes this beautiful lady right here next to me, Barby Siegel. You all give it up for Barbie. And Barbie, from your perspective, what was happening at that moment?
Thank you, Teneshia. Thank you, Adrian, for having us back. So back at Zeno, after the murder of George Floyd, like so many businesses and frankly so many CEOs, we were thinking about what we could do to help advance diversity in the industry and in our agency. And to be honest, we had made commitments prior to the murder of George Floyd, but they were not as intense or intentional as they should be. But I made a decision immediately following that tragic event that I was going to use Zeno and my platform as CEO to make change. And there was a lot of scrutiny, as many of you know, on agencies, on the numbers of people, the numbers of black people in the agency and in leadership. And we were very transparent about our numbers, which were not particularly good at the time. But I really felt there was a different conversation to be had. I had admired Teneshia from afar for many years, and something told me in my gut that we could do something more. So I called Teneshia on the phone. It was the depths of the pandemic. And I said, I think there's something we can do. And I quickly learned that she and Egami were looking for capital. I had no interest in buying Egami. I wanted Egami to be fully who they are and do what they do and in no way compromise their ability to have deep, rich insights. And so fast forward, we created a new model of collaboration for change. We gave Egami significant capital to fuel their business forward in this moment and beyond. Last year, we evolved a new model of collaboration for change to Agency Allyship. We know what it is to be individual allies, but agencies in this moment can be allies too. And it is this note card on which I wrote the definition, and I carry it in my notebook all the time. I actually lost it. Teneshia found it. Story for another day. But the definition, I think, is important for this conversation. Agency allyship is agencies aligned in their unwavering and selfless advocacy, fueling one another to push through and eliminate systemic barriers.
I love that. So it's been 2 years. The title of this conversation is Agency Allyship, a model for unlocking good and growth and good. How are you finding this Agency Allyship 2 years later? How's it working for you? How are you delivering growth and good?
Yes. So before I answer that, I just want to kind of get, by show of hands, know who is in the room. If you're sitting in the crowd and you are part of an agency, let me see your hands. All right. Agencies, we're going to show you some love. If you're sitting in the crowd and you're a minority business enterprise, let me see that hand. Okay, all right. And I'm asking this for a reason. And if you're sitting in the crowd and you are a part of a client, you work with a brand, let me see your hand. All right. So we are seeing growth across a number of areas. We defined this from the very beginning with how can we provide growth to our talent? As Barbie noted, everyone was saying it was all about the numbers. We need to recruit more diversity talent in our industry. And we decided, how do we create something where we can fuel growth of talent of color by leveraging our two assets? So we're seeing that, and Liv is going to talk to you more about that. One example is we're able to build integrated teams. As a minority business enterprise, we have a client portfolio, but I've had a number of times amazing talent come to me and say, T, I love working at Egami. The mission, everything we do is geared toward making the world a better place for people of color. but I want to grow, and I'd like to get access to experience beyond Egami's walls. I'm able to say to that talent, well, what is it? I've heard several times, I want to now be on a global piece of business. I can call Barby and say, look, I have an integrated talent that's interested in working in London. I have talent that's interested in working on a business category that's not a part of the Egami portfolio. We're able to assign that talent, provide the work experience via the integrated team, provide the opportunities for growth, but retain the talent of color. So that's one example. Another one is we're experiencing growth for our clients. I'm not going to talk too much there because Liv and Eric will be covering that. And the last but not least, we challenge ourselves to grow the industry. We know yesterday Eric was a part of a fantastic panel that really set forth the greatest business growth opportunity right now in the marketplace will come from inclusion, winning with diverse audiences. So we take it very seriously that we want to pioneer in understanding how do you reach the new mass market in scale. So we're unlocking multicultural at scale. And I think Eric will be able to talk a little bit more, but you go ahead and I'll come back to you, Adrian.
You know she's trying to moderate the panel that I'm moderating.
I'm bossy.
She's like, Adrian, cue Eric, but I have my own questions. I don't need that. So Eric, you know, what an appropriate segue. Now, Eric, you have a front row seat, literally, of, you know, what P&G and the relationship with you and Egami and how this all works together. And really just unlocking at scale allyship, partnership, and how that works together with the client. What is your unique view on allyship, agency allyship rather, and why is it important to you?
Yes, I think it's extremely important. P&G has had a long-standing relationship with Egami. We've executed several initiatives together, but the agency ally model between Egami and Zeno Group just unlocks the opportunity to serve our businesses more fully. And what I mean by that, that brings new capability. Teneshia talked about investing in the existing talent and bringing on more talent. You know, they're going to bring on new analytic capabilities that expand and get to more truer and truer insights that are needed for our brands to grow, and even new technology capabilities. So enabling this model enables to take on more parts of our business, which we need, right? We need Egami to stay rooted in the rich insights and be a part of the culture. And multicultural is super important for P&G and our brands and our growth for the future. So we see that multicultural will bring an opportunity of billions of dollars into our businesses. So we're looking for that market growth, and this model actually enables that market growth for our brands to grow.
Love that. And, you know, one of the reasons I'm excited to have all of you on the panel, client and agency, and talking about partnerships, having a partner like Procter & Gamble partner with an agency like Egami, 2018, Egami was the first Black-owned agency to win a Grand Prix award because with their partnership with Procter & Gamble. If you haven't applauded for anything else, I think that is something you applaud. Absolutely. When you have a brand that's inclusive in nature and the way that they think about global and inclusion, and you have an agency that's steeped and rooted in the spirit and can give you that insight of what that should look like, then that's an allyship, that's a partnership that obviously makes Grand Prix winners. So I just wanted to shout that out. So everyone, if you did not know, I'm sitting on stage with history. So, Liv, let's go to you before Teneshia says, and Adrian, this is the time for
very much like Teneshia.
You were on the front lines of this partnership. So you get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, the perfect.
There is no
There's
ugly.
no ugly, actually.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But how has, you know, this work impacted you, your teams, and the work?
Yeah, thanks for that. And it's interesting, and it's almost like a full circle moment seeing this because it's Teneshia's vision for a very, very long time. I'm not going to make you cry. When you hear and work with visionaries and you hear their future, you're like, well, how are we going to get there? And as she was looking for, we got the calls and we were saying no, and you're faced with so many things that you have to solve for. One, how am I going to have to pay checks? We're saying no to so much. We need to grow. And a phone call from a fearless leader who believes in the visionary. And Teneshia talks about dreamers don't dream alone. This is a monumentous occasion, and having two visionaries on the stage, putting that in action. So I first have to say that. When I think about what it means for me, so I oversee all of our client experiences, meaning I am the most senior person that talks to our clients and executes at a highest level. I'm able to see some of the opportunity areas. I'm able to see some of our strengths. And the one thing I will say first and foremost is when we think about the resourcing, the capital, to be able to hire the right kinds of resources to support a work stream or to support a project is meaningful and impactful. You're talking about impact. The second thing I would say, when you think about Egami had experience, but the partnership with Zeno deepened that. When I think about some of the opportunities, our first work was around creative. We had to deepen, and I'm shouting out Tracy, right? Deepen our creative capabilities to be able to bring forward that expertise in partnership with Zeno. The second thing I would say is when I think about our talent, being a part of a sister company that has such great individuals who can teach our junior staff and teach even us how to go about things also bolsters, and you think about growing individuals and growing capabilities as well. When we think about also to aid client growth, well, the example I would give here, My Black is Beautiful is the actual account that won that Grand Prix, and that's with the My Black is Beautiful, the Talk campaign. Well, shout out to
as the My Black is Beautiful leads.
And the Black is Beautiful lead. So we worked with My Black is Beautiful about 16 years, and with any agency, we always are looking to grow. And we look at trends and we see that, well, digital and social is a part of that. Well, we knew we wanted to grow. We knew we were thinking about, again, innovative ways to get up and doing that. And so when we're future casting that, we're thinking about also, too, well, how do we get there? Well, being a partner and a part of a sister company, we're able to now reach out to our sister's partner to deepen our digital capability, where we now full integrated teams jointly supporting the My Black is Beautiful social team to bring that work forward from a social strategy perspective, but also from a creative execution perspective, and also to the community management. So that's one example. The second and most recent example, I can't share broadly, but we were a part of a business pitch, a new business pitch. You guys all know, you're putting forth your thinking, you're putting forth your rationale. And so it was a great meeting. We felt like we got it. And so usually after that, you take the clients out and you ask, how do you think? Did we miss anything? And one of the things they said, well, we want to know a deeper understanding of your approach to analytics. And so we set up, and they wanted to make a decision. The meeting was a Tuesday. They wanted to make the meeting the next Monday. And so we quickly said, okay, we'll come back to you and showcase that approach. Well, we put forth our recommendations, and we said, let's call Zeno and understand what they have to do. I believe the meeting was probably 2 hours before we got the call, and there were some questions posed to us that, while we knew there were deep learnings, there were deep technology capabilities that I can say with their partnership, we won that business. And that is as real as this past week. And so when I talk about being the forefront and having that camaraderie and partnership, that is a real-time example of what that means.
Adrienne, can I just jump in?
Of course.
I think we're moving into our impact and measurement phase of our allyship. We always said from the beginning that we want to put real measurement on this, because we do want other agencies and clients to adopt the model. So we do have early findings, hot off the press, of some research we conducted among Egami and Zeno employees. Again, this is directional for now, but I think it is important. 95% of Zeno and Egami employees' talent view agency allyship as a fundamental part of our industry moving forward. 50% said that our partnership has already helped make them feel confident. We all know the role of confidence in business and being able to get up and go for it. They feel confident regarding multicultural marketing. They've been exposed, as Liv just said, to new specialties and areas of expertise, and they're excited to bring this integrated model forward. We're going to, again, this is preliminary. We're going to continue this research. We're talking about some other research products, but we really want to give the industry hardcore data and leave no question that there is impact in this model.
So we know they're numbers people, we know they're culture people. You guys have brought the numbers and the culture to the table just as a proof point of why this agency allyship piece is successful.
In addition to the fact that we really do have a lot of fun. I mean, we just have to add that in.
I love that. So I'm sure there are people in the audience who are really curious, right? They just really want to know, like, how does this model work? Like, what can you tell them in terms of how to make this happen and, you know, give us that insight.
So I'm going to talk and I want you to listen. If you're a brand, you're listening in one way. If you are the minority business enterprise, you are listening in one way. And if you're an agency, you're listening in one way. So if you are a brand, I think really understanding your power to shape and drive our industry to become more creative. I am well aware as a Black woman-owned agency, and it's a full circle moment, I am aware that the seat that was created for me at the table, it was directly associated with P&G saying to global agencies, this is our supplier diversity commitment, and you're now going to be graded and scored on it, and we want to start seeing MBEs at the table. You all made that announcement. This was many, many years ago. I'm aging myself. It was Rick Hughes. It hit all of the major papers, and all of a sudden, even though I've been having the meetings, we want to work, we want to work, we want to work. Rick Hughes, P&G, makes that statement. It's in PR Week. It's in Ad Age. And all of a sudden, my phone rings. Hey, you still interested to have that conversation? I know. I was well aware. You're calling me because the clients are now leading the way and they're using their power, right, to create that seat. So if you're an agency, P&G talked about it yesterday. When you walk in the room and you see that agency presenting to you, if it's not diverse, they talked about speaking up. Well, agency allyship is another model that you can now utilize. You go in the room, hey, have you thought about this model? I want to tell you sort of the fundamental elements, but it would include working with a minority business enterprise partner in a collaboration to ensure you're getting deep, specialized cultural insights. So if you're a brand, the takeaway that I want you to know is be open to an agency allyship model because you're going to create seats for minority business enterprises, but you're going to create great work that resonates. So that's a good for growth if you are a brand. If you are a minority business enterprise, after 16 years of being in this journey, I know what it feels like to have a dream that's so big that disconnects with maybe the reality of what you see today. What I would say to you is be open-minded around collaboration and partnerships as a vehicle to realize that dream. Now, when you start entering into those partnership discussions, know what your barriers are. Ours, access to capital, access to curriculum, access to connection, access to community. So any conversations that I was having with potential partners, I was listening for, are they willing to design to support an MBE to overcome the barriers? But also be listening to serve. What do I have to offer that I know inside of this partnership, if I bring it, there's a growth win-win for both and. So that's brands, that's minority business enterprises. And for the MBEs, you do not have to always think that the only way out is to sell. It was important to us. We wanted to remain Black-owned. We really did. And even when we were having some of those discussions, HR called me and said, T, your team members are talking. I said, what are they talking about? And they said, we decided to work for Egami because it's making the world a better place for people of color. They want to know, are you about to sell the vision? And that's a real reality that we had to protect for. So if you're MBE in the room, don't always think that has to be the option. And last but not least, if you are an agency in this room, historically, let's just put it on the table. A lot of times as an agency, you think you have to go to your client and position that you do it all. We can do that, we can do that, we can do that. And sometimes you're even behind the scene, pulling together diverse teams, folks from HR, folks from seats that will never really be doing the work. I am telling it like it is. And what I would commend Barby for, from an agency perspective, change the mindset. Collaboration and partnership and investing in multicultural owned businesses is not only a vehicle for collaboration, but that is where your growth opportunity can be. My grandma used to break it down very simple. My grandma would say, do you want a whole grape or do you want a slice of a watermelon? Agencies, you can protect that whole grape or you can collaborate with MBEs and maybe there's a slice of a watermelon. So I can't believe my grandma just made cans. But that's, she's smiling in heaven. But that's the feedback for those in the room. And Eric, I mean, would love to hear everything you're doing with system-wide.
Yeah. Yesterday we talked about stepping up inclusion inside, outside, system-wide. And the piece that I talked about around system-wide, there's a key learning that we had is building partnerships that create sustainable growth. And one of those elements is widen the screen. And if you look at the widen the screen manifesto, the first sentence in the essence of widen the screen is that sustained action and investment is required to drive systemic change. So this model is underpinned by access to capital. And that capital enabled growth internally for their talent. And that talent creates richer insights. And those richer insights get to brilliant campaigns, particularly for our brands. And those brilliant campaigns create market growth, and particularly multicultural growth. So I love this model. It is probably, it's definitely one of the cornerstones of our learnings throughout an inclusion journey of building sustainable partnerships or building partnerships for sustainable growth. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. Does it make sense, audience? Okay.
And I would just add, thank you, Eric, for that. Yes, the allyship started with a significant investment, but that investment has to continue every single day. You know, Mark spoke yesterday about bolting on multicultural. Egami is not a bolt-on. They are part of our family. We talk every single day, and we invest in each other every single day in myriad ways, whether it's making our own resources, talent, or knowledge available. And I also want to say, Tenesia's talked a lot about what she has gotten out of this partnership, but we have gotten at Zeno a tremendous amount out of partnering with Egami and Teneshia and Liv and Paris and others. Our research findings show that it's made our talent stronger and better, and we now understand more what multicultural marketing is in America today, and we are talking globally going forward, what it is to own and run an MBE, and how we can deliver better work to our clients. And we never once, when we started, we never said, we're going to do this because we're going to make more money. But we all know that DE&I is a business imperative. Do everything we said here in your own way, and everything else will follow. Doing good leads to growth.
I love it. Give a round of applause for that, those statements. Before we ask the last question, I just wanted to quickly open it up to the audience. Any questions that you might have on growth and ally partnership?
Thank you, Teneshia. Chandra Gwen with McKinney, and so an agency, creative agency. And Teneshia, I'm wondering about what was the thing that allowed you to go ahead and say yes? We've had some conversations with folks, and there's the hesitancy, and I'm wondering what made you go ahead and make that move to partner with Barby, and what stood out in Barby that made the difference?
Well, it was during the time.
I'll see you later with your check.
Well, it was during the time, if you were a person of color and or an agency with the expertise, I feel like we were in a moment we had to be very discerning, right? Because you had companies that were making commitments. As of right now, $340 billion have been committed towards racial equity projects. Washington Post reported that as of 2022, the $60 billion that was committed in 2020, only $1.7 billion of that has been dispersed. And so you had a lot of folks raising their hands with commitments. There were a lot of talent being recruited, given titles, given crazy salaries. You had agencies like myself getting acquisition opportunities. In general, if you were in the industry, I advise this is a moment to be more discerning than ever before. Be discerning, because what you do not want to do is make a move today and then 3 years later find out that it was performative or it was just about the moment but not a genuine commitment behind it. And to answer your question, there were lots of conversations. There was one particular deal that was absolutely perfect on paper. And in the last stage, my gut said, this is not it. And not only was it my gut, but it was Liv's crooked eye. Because you keep somebody around you that tell you the truth. It was Liv actually said, I'm not feeling this. Like, I'm seeing the way they're moving.
And I will say, while you asked the question of the visionary, what I will say about our visionary, she brings our leaders along, and we were very much a part of that process, so that it enabled me to say, this isn't right. When we were thinking about making that decision, we thought about our core values, and when we finally got the call from Barby, I had already actually had a relationship with Barby, and I leaned in and said yes, because of my interaction way, way long ago. When we think about, when you're looking for that, you're looking for, do these companies have investment in my vision, but do they match my core values? And when the side I gave her, I was like, this doesn't match our core values. I know we were really hungry to make a decision, but we had to say no. The other thing I would say, be brave enough to wait on the no for the right thing.
Very good.
That's good that I take him to church just now. That was the church. That's the church.
And so we did. We said no. We said no a lot. And to be honest, the last time that we said no, we didn't know what was coming next, but we stood true to our gut. And fast forward, I don't know how much longer later, Barby and I was sitting on a board. It was in the middle of the pandemic. I get this Zoom message, reading to the tone of my mom says, if you see someone that you want to be their friend, to reach out, will you be my friend? And really, our conversation started there, and it was something just very genuine and organic. And your gut will let you know, is what I'm saying. And make sure that there's shared purpose, as Liv noted. Any other questions? And do not be shy. We can have a real conversation here. Any other question? Yes.
Thank you for this. Always amazing. You guys talked a lot about what's possible last year, and now you guys have gone through a year with so much success. We can talk about that with amazing companies like P&G that have an openness to do these amazing initiatives and campaigns. Can you talk about a bit about how you're partnering with companies and more not so open cultures and businesses, and how you enter with the same vigor of diversity and inclusion and get them on board?
So Teneshia talked about, in the tragic death of George Floyd, we got a lot of calls, and we've gotten really good at listening for the unsaid thing and listening of whether or not the ask is performative or if it's really tied to measurable impact and growth. And so as we have these conversations, I think we've gotten really good at saying, they're not really going to be open to our model of collaboration, and they're not going to be really open to our ways of working. And in those instances, we say no. Any builds?
Yes. I mean, one way you can always know is, are you talking to a partner that has raised their hand, we're going to make investments? You hear P&G was here yesterday. They have budgets that align and investments, because otherwise you're going to keep wasting your time trying to convince someone to spend. The second thing is, do they truly value the potential of inclusion and multicultural audiences and the market value? If you listen, you can tell. If you're talking to someone that says, hey, will you come in and help me convince my C-suite that you all matter? We are done convincing. I don't even go into the rooms anymore. I mean, that was the first decade of Egami. And so we want to work with someone that we're not wasting energy convincing that it matters, but it's someone that truly already knows it matters and I'm going to do this. And they're just thinking about how. Now, where they are on the spectrum, they can be in investing, piloting, innovating. They can just be getting started, but it has to be a genuine desire that they already see the value. So those are some of the things that you can listen for to say, is this truly a place that's worth my time? The last thing that I would say is, if you're a part of a team that has hired you to bring cultural competency to the table, you give the cultural competency and they still move forward with doing what they desire to do, that's a signal. Like, this is not an environment that understands the value of cultural competency. On numerous occasions, we've told a brand, hey, listen, when you reach out to this multicultural influencer, we got to make sure that the pay equity is right. If you position this ask in this way, this isn't right. Or this particular messaging offends this community because of this reason. If you tell them all of those little things and they say, thank you for that, well, we still are going to go in this direction. That is someone that's really not ready for cultural competency to be built in, as P&G is saying, versus a bolted on.
So we've come to a close to this panel. I mean, and I just have one last question that I think is important. And between the two of you, you guys have such great energy, such great synergy, and give them a round of applause just for making that work. Two women leaders together, it's always amazing. But, it seems you've definitely created a successful model. And then why do you think that both of you, and you've kind of covered it a little bit, so you don't have to, belabor the point, but why do you think it's been so successful on this journey?
I think this is an important point for business in general. First and foremost, we have the most incredible trust between us, Teneshia and I, not only as business women, but as friends. And that friendship blossomed really early on, and that has been a gift that has become an outcome of this. But we really trust each other. Our team, it's not just about me and Teneshia. Yes, we set it up, but our teams really feel this partnership in their bones. And when Liv calls or others, we're there. And we're not counting, oh, that's revenue for you, that's revenue for us. In the instances we work together, we're in it together for what's right for our talent and our clients. And the last thing I would say is that we really are in it together, not for the individual, not to Zeno to make their numbers or Egami. We're really in it for the collective. And I think that is the mindset. We want to do this because it is the right thing to do for where we are at this moment going forward. We want to have an impact on people, on business, and society, and we are passionate about the agency allyship model. I thank you for giving us this stage, and I really hope other agencies will go forward and form their own agency allyships. Our goal, and we'd love to come back next year if you'll have us, is to create an agency allyship network. We want to have 2 or 3 new agency allyships that can come forward and talk about their experiences, and we can then do this together as a network and, as they say, be the change.
I love that. So you've heard the challenge. You know we're all about calling people out on their challenges. So next year we need to see a new model of an agency allyship opportunity. So please, Procter & Gamble, thank you for being an amazing partner to us. We all don't exist if you are not here to support us, so thank you. Thank you to Liv, thank you to Barbie, thank you to Teneshia for creating such an extraordinary example. Leading by example is so important for us. Beautiful women leading the way, and a woman shall lead us, as they say. And we thank you for the support. So please give another round of applause to our amazing panel, Agency Allyship, a model for unlocking growth and good.
Thank you.
Thank you.